Good day, my friends. I hope you're having a day where you are seeing God's work in your life to bring good into your life. That's the way God is. He promises never to leave us or abandon us, and that He will bring good into our lives. Even out of challenge or bad things that happen to us, He brings good. That's what the story of the Bible is about. Which leads me to what I want to talk about today, which is regret. Living with regret. We all have regrets from the past, things that we know we shouldn't have done, that we did, or maybe something that we knew we should have done, a good that God wanted us to do, and we neglected to do it. And so now we have regrets about that. We are in times of pressure these days, increased pressure, and during those times we got to understand that we're more likely to make a bad decision that will lead to living with regret. So the first word to say up front is, let's learn from our past. If there's something we would do that we know would lead to regret, don't do it. Or if there's something we should do, do it. Let's learn from the past. When I think of regret, I think of the story of Joseph from the book of Genesis. Joseph and his brothers. Genesis chapter 37 through 50. If you know the story, there's a lot of rivalry among Joseph and his brothers, and it eventually leads to them doing some evil to him. They throw him into a pit when they're away from their home. They sell him into slavery, and he's taken away from their homeland of Canaan and their family to Egypt. But I think the brothers regretted doing that, and they were living with that regret for many years. The reason I say this is because through some extraordinary events, Joseph becomes the second in command in Egypt. That's why this is such a compelling story. It shows up often in our culture with things like Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat or the Prince of Egypt. It's such a compelling story. Well, he's second in command in Egypt now. The brothers don't know that. He doesn't know what's happened to his brothers as well. A famine breaks out in Canaan where the brothers live with their father, and they decide to go to Egypt to beg for some grain. And in an amazing way, they end up standing before Joseph, their brother, asking for grain. They don't know it's Joseph. Joseph knows it's them, but they don't know it's Joseph. Well, it initially doesn't go well for them in Egypt. They get thrown into prison. And in Genesis chapter 42, verse 21, it says this. The brothers said to one another, surely we are being punished because of our brother. They're talking about Joseph, what they did to him. We saw how distressed Joseph was, and when he pleaded with us for his life, but we would not listen. That's why this distress has come upon us. You see what they've done? They're interpreting the evil they experience, the difficulty they experience, as punishment for what they did to Joseph. That's the thing with regret. When you are living with regret, you often interpret what's happening to you in light of what you did in the past. I heard people say when they're going through a difficult time that maybe God's punishing them for something they did in the past, and I don't know what they even have in mind. But that's the difficult thing about regret. It starts to color our current lives, our present lives. So again, the lesson is don't do what you know you regret, or do what you would regret not doing in the future. But I want you to understand, I don't think God works that way. I don't think God is this punishing God that when we do something we shouldn't have done, He punishes us for it by bringing evil into our life. I don't think that's the way God works. I think that's what the whole account of Jesus teaches us. In fact, quite the opposite. That God will bring good out of the bad or evil in our lives, including what we've done. Later on in the story of Joseph, when Joseph has revealed himself to his brothers, in Genesis chapter 50, verse 20, it says this. Joseph says to his brothers, you intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives. That's the way God works. Through Jesus, He forgives us of what we've done. The Bible teaches us that God forgets it. He remembers it no more. And then he can go beyond that and even use what's happened to bring good into our lives, into the lives of others. How extraordinary God works. So, just a couple things to again remember. Don't make a bad decision that you'll regret. Learn from the past. But even if you do, know that God forgives you and he can bring good out of what you've done. May that be an encouragement for you today as you move forward.